Most alliances are announced with fanfare, but some of the most powerful ones are built quietly, in ports, in labs, and in trade corridors that reshape entire economies. That's what's happening right now between Canada and the Netherlands. New memorandums, port alliances, and energy corridors are silently tying Ottawa to Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And the scale is massive. Hydrogen exports, critical minerals, agri-tech, even digital infrastructure. Washington can't stop it, because it's not a headline-grabbing treaty. It's a network of deals already in motion. Welcome to Geocapitalist, where we decode global wealth one power shift at a time. Today, we're uncovering Canada and the Netherlands' new connection, a series of moves that could bypass U.S. control of Atlantic trade. From hydrogen corridors to port-to-port alliances, this partnership is redrawing the map of transatlantic commerce. If you want to understand how today's quiet deals become tomorrow's power plays, subscribe now, because the biggest shifts are already underway. The Netherlands is Europe's logistics heart, and Canada just built a direct artery into it. In February 2025, North Sea Port signed a cooperation pact with 5 St. Lawrence ports: Montreal, Quebec, Saguenay, Sept-Îles, and Trois-Rivières. The goal: streamlined shipping lanes, green logistics, and innovation across the Atlantic. This is huge. It means Canadian bulk, containers, and energy transition cargo now have a direct institutionalized route into Europe's industrial belt, bypassing U.S. ports. Washington long assumed Canadian exports needed American gateways. That assumption is cracking. What makes this deal powerful is scale. Together, these Canadian ports handle over 200 million tons of cargo annually, from grain shipments in Quebec to aluminum exports from Saguenay. North Sea Port, stretching across Belgium and the Netherlands, links directly into Europe's industrial giants. Germany's Ruhr Valley, France's automotive hubs, and the chemical clusters of Antwerp. The cooperation agreement sets the stage for cleaner shipping corridors using low-carbon fuels and digital logistics. It also means Canadian products can be branded as entering through Europe's Green Gateway, enhancing both competitiveness and political goodwill. This isn't just about ships crossing the Atlantic. It's about who controls the arteries of 21st century commerce. In May 2025, Port of Amsterdam and Newfoundland and Labrador signed an MOU to develop a green hydrogen corridor. Think of it as a transatlantic pipeline, but via ships, certification standards, and terminals. Ottawa and The Hague also signed a federal hydrogen MOU in January 2025, aligning infrastructure and investment at the government level. Why does this matter? Because Europe is racing to replace Russian fuels. Canada is stepping in, not through Germany alone, but now through Dutch ports too. Every Canadian shipment landing in Amsterdam chips away at America's role as the middleman. The Port of Amsterdam already aims to become Europe's hydrogen import capital, with terminals being converted to handle ammonia, the liquid form in which hydrogen is shipped. Newfoundland has some of the world's best wind resources, capable of producing hydrogen at globally competitive costs. By standardizing certification, ensuring that Canadian hydrogen counts as renewable under EU rules, this corridor is future-proofing Canada's role in Europe's energy mix. Over time, the corridor could expand to 2 to 3 million tons annually, enough to fuel industries from Dutch steel to German heavy transport. What looks like a regional MOU today could become one of the defining trade routes of tomorrow. Hydrogen is the opening act. The next one is critical minerals. Canada has the reserves: nickel, cobalt, graphite. The Netherlands has the refining clusters, industrial demand, and financing muscle. That's why Ottawa is organizing a critical raw materials R&D delegation to the Netherlands in February 2026. Applications close in late 2025. This isn't theory. It's a pipeline of Canadian scientists, startups, and miners heading straight into Dutch labs and ports to co-develop refining and recycling. Translation: Europe's future batteries, wind turbines, and EV supply chains may be tied directly to Canadian ore via Dutch industry. The context is urgent. Europe imports over 90% of its rare earths and critical minerals from China. Every ton Canada ships, every recycling method co-developed in the Netherlands, chips away at that dependency. Dutch ports are also investing in urban mining, extracting metals from electronic waste, an area where Canadian tech startups are pioneering. Imagine a supply chain where Canadian nickel is shipped to Rotterdam, blended with recycled metals, and then sent to German gigafactories. That's the future being written now. For Washington, which hope to dominate Western mineral flows. This is a challenge, because the minerals are flowing east, not south. This energy and mineral bridge didn't appear out of nowhere. In June 2024, Ottawa and The Hague signed a Science, Technology, and Innovation MOU. It covers AI, aerospace, agritech, clean energy, and health sciences. That framework is now the backbone of everything else. From AI models in Toronto feeding into Dutch fintech hubs to Canadian aerospace components linking with Dutch R&D, this alliance is layered. It's not just shipping resources. It's building entire innovation pipelines that flow from Canadian labs to European markets, routed through the Netherlands. Consider AI. Montreal and Toronto are among the world's leading AI hubs, and Dutch companies are global players in fintech and logistics. Linking these ecosystems means more efficient trade, smarter ports, and predictive supply chains. In aerospace, Canada's Bombardier and Dutch Aerospace Research Institutes are already exploring collaboration on greener aviation technologies. And in health sciences, both countries are targeting biotech innovation and pandemic resilience. The STI MOU ensures that when a Canadian startup seeks a European entry point, Amsterdam and Rotterdam are the launch pads. Behind the headlines of hydrogen and minerals lies a deeper story. One of research, patents, and data flows, knitting the two economies together. Here's the paradox. The Netherlands is tiny, yet it's the world's second-largest agricultural exporter. Canada is vast, yet often ships raw commodities. Put them together and you get a powerhouse. Ottawa supplies wheat, canola, and land. The Dutch supply vertical farming, greenhouse systems, and precision irrigation. Already, Dutch delegations are pushing Canada-Netherlands agritech matchmaking in British Columbia, Quebec, and New Brunswick. The result? Canadian farms exporting higher-value crops backed by Dutch tech into Europe's food system. In a world of climate shocks, this isn't just trade, it's resilience. The potential is staggering. Canada has millions of hectares of farmland. The Netherlands has perfected the art of growing more with less. By applying Dutch greenhouse technology to Canadian climates, yields of tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens could multiply and extend growing seasons far beyond current limits. For Europe, which faces water stress and unpredictable harvests, Canadian-Dutch cooperation offers food security. For Canadian farmers, it means higher incomes and diversified exports beyond bulk grains. Imagine prairie wheat paired with Dutch-controlled climate tech, turning Canada into both a breadbasket and a high-tech food producer. It's not simply farming, it's geopolitics on a plate. Ports aren't just commercial, they're strategic. Dutch hubs like Rotterdam and Amsterdam are NATO's logistics backbone, fueling and supplying allies across Europe. For Canada, deepening these ties means more than economics. It's access. When global supply chains break, Ottawa has secure entry points into Europe. Washington has long enjoyed a monopoly on transatlantic logistics, but every Canadian container routed through Rotterdam or Amsterdam shifts that balance. It's quiet, but it's leverage, both in trade and in strategy. Consider the dual-use nature of infrastructure. A port that handles hydrogen or LNG for Europe can, in times of crisis, also refuel NATO fleets. Railways carrying Canadian minerals to factories can also transport defense supplies. By anchoring itself in the Netherlands, Canada ensures that its trade arteries double as strategic lifelines. This matters in a world where pandemics, cyber attacks, or geopolitical rivalries can paralyze supply chains overnight. For Ottawa, having a secure non-US route into Europe isn't just about profits, it's about resilience. And for Washington, it's a subtle loss of leverage. The United States can no longer assume every Canadian shipment passes through its hands before reaching Europe's markets or NATO's allies. Trade between Canada and the Netherlands already tops $12 billion annually, and the curve is rising. Dutch foreign direct investment in Canada is among the highest in Europe. Canadian outward investment into the Netherlands is also growing, especially in minerals, energy, and finance. Add the port MOU, the hydrogen corridors, and the CRM delegation, and projections easily climb into the tens of billions over the next decade. This isn't symbolic. It's cash, contracts, and capital flows that are already reshaping the Atlantic economy. The numbers tell a clear story. Between 2018 and 2023, Canadian exports to the Netherlands grew by more than 40%, driven by energy and agri-food. Dutch investment into Canada exceeds $100 billion in stock value, much of it tied to clean energy, infrastructure, and logistics. On the flip side, Canadian companies use the Netherlands as a European headquarters, taking advantage of its financial networks and tax treaties. When you factor in the hydrogen MOUs, minerals delegation, and agri-tech collaborations, trade flows could double again by 2030. Every billion is not just an economic figure. It's leverage, political weight, and a stake in Europe's future economy. Here's the secret. None of this is happening with big press conferences or treaty ceremonies. It's ports signing cooperation pacts, provinces linking with cities, scientists flying across the ocean for R&D. And yet these pieces add up to a geopolitical shift. Canada is building its own bridge to Europe, not through Washington, but through Rotterdam and Amsterdam. For the Netherlands, it reinforces its role as Europe's indispensable gateway. For the US, it's a warning. The world's arteries of trade are being rerouted, container by container, corridor by corridor. And this time, the control isn't in Washington. That's the genius of it. By keeping the headlines quiet, the deals avoid political pushback and trade disputes. The work is technical, logistics, certification, R&D, but the impact is strategic. By the time Washington wakes up, the infrastructure is already built, the trade lanes are already open, and the capital is already flowing. For Canada, this is independence. For the Netherlands, it's power. For the US, it's a slow erosion of dominance. The silent deals being signed today will define tomorrow's global wealth map, not with speeches, but with ships, cables, and contracts. This is the story of global wealth in motion. Canada and the Netherlands aren't just signing deals, they're quietly rewiring the Atlantic. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe now and support independent analysis. And let us know in the comments, is this just diversification or the birth of a new Atlantic alliance? Either way, the world is watching. This was Canada and the Netherlands' new connection no one saw coming, and Washington can't stop it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.